Session is open for discussion. Anybody can ask the questions. First, the anatomy faculties.
Any questions?
So we are all speechless because sir का study इतना hard है कि have you understood some little bit or everything? Little bit, but sir, when he in the Department of Anatomy, he just with the Gray's Anatomy, other book, he only goes inside. Why he is doing like this? Now he won't see the book. All this is in his mind. मेरे घर का प्रॉब्लम था तो मैंने प्रॉब्लम पूछा तो ही 2 मिनट में सॉल्व किया. डिपार्टमेंट का प्रॉब्लम पूछा 2 मिनट में सॉल्व किया. पैसा चाहिए था वो भी सॉल्व किया. एवरीथिंग it means क्या बोलते हैं, everything is there in this. So any questions? Sir, please.
Sir, in relation with the pinnate, that is bipinnate, multipinnate, and unipinnate, what you have explained, in relation with that, one muscle which is described as the circumpinnate one, that is the tibialis posterior, how will you explain in relation with that?
Yes, again you have to same logic, or every fiber has to be brought to one plane and then take a cross section. So it will also be similar to multipinnate, because muscle fibers come from all directions. So individual fibers to be brought at one level and cross sections. It will be stronger than bipinnate because bipinnate fibers come only from two sides. Here it's coming from front, back sides. So similar to the strength of multipinnate.
But thank you.
Anything? Students? Other end, the students on that side in histology lab, you want to ask any questions? They are also speechless. Any other faculty members? About the lecture or about the oration? Deepak, please.
Sir, with respect to brachialis muscle, how will you explain that relation, the line of pull?
Yeah.
And
brachialis is a muscle which is starting from humerus, inserting on ulna. Humero-ulnar we say is a functional elbow joint. So just cross the elbow joint. Transverse axis is along the line joining the medial epicondyle and lateral epicondyle, the axis of movement. So brachialis is in front of the axis of movement and at right angles to axis of movement. It's the best flexor, even better than biceps brachii, because biceps brachii is also a supinator. So if you have to lift up a glass of water to drink, it is brachialis alone, because if biceps were to do the same, it would spill the water by supinating. Brachialis is the pure flexor of the elbow joint. There are muscles which start from medial epicondyle, which start from lateral epicondyle of the humerus. These muscles can neither flex nor extend the elbow joint because they are cutting the line of pull. Muscle has to be in front of line of pull or behind to produce any movement. When it cuts, we said when the line of pull is cutting, muscle cannot act. When the line of pull of muscle is parallel to the axis, muscles cannot act. If the muscle is supplied by a so-called wrong spinal segment, it cannot act. But for it to act, it has to first cross the joint. Half of the confusion is solved if you are clear about which muscle crosses which joint, so that you don't start speaking about muscle which has not crossed the joint and speak about actions that the joint where it doesn't cross. That's the problem which occurs around the shoulder, especially. There are some 15 muscles around the shoulder, and people get confused. Which one acts at the girdle, which one acts at the joint. After years of experience, we know reflexly, but at a student level, this is going to be a problem. If you can differentiate which muscles are crossing which joint, automatically 50% of the problem is solved.
We have had the fortune of learning from Sir for so many years, and we have learned many concepts that he elucidated today in his talk during his tenure here. And we are proud to be his students while learning anatomy. Sir, as always, an excellent, thought-provoking talk that you have offered here for all of us. One of the things that I wanted to actually, maybe a comment or an explanation is, one of the components that students are asked in the exam that demonstrate muscle actions in living anatomy, or say test a muscle in living anatomy. Generally what happens is we end up asking actions of those muscles which are generally superficial, and they can be demonstrable, they can be demonstrated on the surface. Now obviously when they demonstrate such actions, many other muscles which are not on the surface, they are also acting. So how do we actually explain and try and what do you say, use something better where we can definitely assess only actions of those muscles which act singly that you just explained? Action of one muscle.
So what was to be
No, like for example, sir, just to explain about brachialis, biceps brachii, brachioradialis, like three muscles having similar action on the elbow joint, at the elbow joint, but at different positions.
Yeah.
So likewise,
If the elbow, if the forearm is already fully supinated, biceps brachii, brachialis, brachioradialis, all can act. If it is mid-broad, the mid-broad, the line of pull of brachioradialis becomes best. Brachioradialis is the flexor in a mid-broad position. If it is fully prone, the arm is fully prone. Now if biceps were to act, it will try to supine it. Brachioradialis will try to bring it to mid-prone. At that full prone position, only brachialis can act. Because brachialis has no other movement associated with the joint. Brachialis, to test brachialis isolated, you can ask the subject to flex the elbow in full prone position. If you want to test brachioradialis, show it in mid-prone position. At that time also brachialis will act. But mid-prone, the best action is by brachioradialis, and full supine, all three muscles will act. So if you want to test isolated biceps, test for supination action. The supinator muscle itself is a weaker muscle. So if you can differentiate the amount of power you can generate by supination action, that is best, because per se supinator is weaker muscle. Brachialis is much stronger. So you don't want to add one muscle along with multiple other muscles simultaneously acting. Then you will not be able to make out the isolated strength of each muscle.
thank you, sir.
Sir, I still remember your action of paradox. But for the benefit of our audience here, please, one more time, I would like to.
You
hear
already
from you.
said that when a muscle acts, we are considering that no other external force is acting. So that is not a reality. Gravity is always there. When you are walking, inertia is there. So many other factors come into play. There are factors which restrict movement. So that will limit the movement and all those things. Simplest example of action of paradox is when you are lifting up a glass of water. Lifting up a glass of water, we said brachialis will act because otherwise biceps brachii will spill the water. After you've drunk the water half, then you are keeping the water back on the table. You are extending the elbow joint. Elbow joint extension is done by triceps. If electromyography is study brachialis and triceps, you will find only brachialis acts when you keep the glass down. Brachialis extension. When you want to drop the glass, gravity would have taken it to the table with a bang. Triceps is when you want to throw the glass onto the table. And when you want to gently keep the glass back on the table, it is brachialis which acts. Remember, the so-called voluntary muscles are not voluntary. Muscles are always involuntary. Movements of the muscles are voluntary. So when you want to lift up a glass of water, you are using brachialis with a power slightly greater than that of gravity and bringing it to your mouth. When you want to keep the glass back down, brachialis contracts at a power slightly lesser than that of gravity, so that the glass goes gently down. Movements are under our control. You cannot decide. Head tibialis anterior, pronate, invert the foot. Posterior don't have. Can't do that. You can decide what you want to perform. Muscles will act accordingly. So, lifting up a glass of water is a classical action of brachialis. Keeping the glass gently down is a paradoxical action of brachialis. But brachialis is supposed to be a flexor. How does it help in extension? So for a paradox action, some external force must exist, which usually is, as we said, is gravity, but at times during walking cycle, in the swing phase, our moving limb flexes at the hip joint. Initial part flexors act, middle part flexors act, terminal part of swing phase extensors act. Because leg would move up all the way due to inertia. But you want them to get arrested, don't go beyond a certain point. Extensors act paradoxically, causes slowing down of flexion. That's paradox. How extensors help in the movement of flexion. Flexion movement was occurring due to inertia after a certain point. Extensors have to put a brake to that. That's the action of paradox. Thank you.
Abdominal muscles, say for example, external oblique.
So far we were dealing with only muscles which are limb muscles or movement. Abdominal muscles are a tricky ball game altogether. There are a few muscles like external oblique, which is attached to iliac crest. Internal oblique attached to iliac crest and pubis. That means they are starting from one bone, ending on the same bone. So how can it act in such a case? If you consider the external oblique person alone, starting from ribs, inserting on pubis and hip bone. Ribs to hip bone, it will act in the costovertebral joints, intervertebral joints, thoracolumbar, interlumbar, sacroiliac, and it reaches the hip bone. So it acts on all these joints. So the direction of pull, the movement, etc. will realize because of the oblique line of pull, it can be resolved into three vectors. So it acts as a flexor of the trunk, it acts as lateral flexor of the trunk, it acts as rotation of the trunk to the opposite side. Internal oblique, those fibers which start from one bone, end on the same bone, do not bring about movements at synovial joints. Only those fibers which are not attached to the same bone, they will help, you can resolve it in the same similar type of way. So the lower fibers of internal oblique will only help in supporting the inguinal canal. supporting factors of inguinal canal. Muscles, these muscles will not act at joints because it has not crossed any joint. Those fibers which are going to the linea alba and those which are going to the rib cage will act.
For the benefit of us, a single muscle, which will be a longest one and crossing many joints. At least we will love to know that muscle.
The longest muscle in this context is clearly sartorius, crossing hip joint, crossing knee joint. Multiple movements in the hip joint, movements in the knee joint. Along transverse axis, it's lying in front of him, flexor. Along anteroposterior axis, it's lying lateral to the hip, but crossing medially, it's an abductor. Vertical axis, it is crossing in front, but from lateral to medial rotator. Crossing the knee joint, behind the transverse axis of the knee, flexor of the knee. Crossing the knee joint, medial to the vertical axis of tibia fibula, medial rotator. Single muscle acting at 3 different axes at hip joint and 2 different axes in the knee joint. And of course, there are muscles which are digital flexors. Let's take the example of flexor digitorum longus, starting from tibia fibula, running downwards behind the ankle, running downwards, crossing multiple talar subtalar joints, finally going and getting inserted on the distal phalanx of the toe. So crosses ankle, subtalar, with transverse tarsal, intertarsals, intermetatarsals, metatarsophalangeal, interphalangeal proximal, interphalangeal distal, multiple joints. On theory, we can find out what it actually does. But then you have to remember the spinal segment. It was designed for toe flexion. It is supplied by spinal segment S2. S2 can perform what all actions you have to think of. What is the spinal segment meant for? Ankle plantar flexion. S1, S2. It will act at ankle. Because running medially, it will theoretically cause inversion. It can't. Inversion is supplied by L4. Then it crosses toe flexion. S2, S3. So it will act at these. So all joints will process, it did not act at all joints. What the muscle was designed to is what it will perform best. Because there are areas in the spinal cord, nuclei in the spinal cord. This nuclei is for flexion, this nuclei for inversion, this is for plantar flexion, and all those things.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for simplifying such a complex topic for us. And now I request our chairpersons for give their concluding remarks.
Previously, sir is taking lectures on Saturday for 3 to 4 hours continuously, and the students are full like this. So I'm just requesting you, please give a standing ovation to us, sir. Thank you.